is a great place to start because to me it's the most quintessential sacrifice map we have.
Well, here we go. This is going to be our grand finals. Make some noise. It's Team Liquid from North America versus our European boys in Stacked. And I mean, half this team being hometown heroes, we are in Sweden. Come on, there's going to have to be some crowd there wanting these boys to do well.
And even if Liquid win, the Europeans win because Wins is playing for them. So
exactly,
we're going to win no matter what. Anyway, back into the match. We have the Soul spawning soon, and usually teams like to go for a setup where they throw it up to the top of the jump pad. It's one of the easiest ways to get that Soul into safety, and then you have teams trying to battle over that position, but instead Noctis will be able to take his way around the Trigun. Let's see if that's going to be successful. He's got a couple players to worry about here. We can see the toss, which is pretty awesome. Mid-fight can actually be quite effective.
Yeah, Noctis went for a little bit of an in and out there, was actually able to beat Dahang to the punch, but ultimately with the rest of Team Liquid sort of being around there, he was only going to survive for so long. And, you know, for those that may have just joined us, that first obelisk, unbelievably important. You know, you get to choose how you want to defend, you get that early lead. Stacked currently staying on the quad damage, and of course, Toxic with quad. We have seen how dangerous this gentleman is with that power-up.
Absolutely. And Toxic will be choosing his adventure back in towards the B point. And the B point here for Liquid, that is the strongest point of the map. It's really advantageous. It's very fortunate for Liquid to be able to get that secured very early on. But Toxic, he's got to get some pressure in here. He's going to be standing on the points. Exactly what you need to do. He's got teammates there on the high ground. So all eyes on Toxic. He will go down with the quad, but he was causing so much distraction. Surely there should have been a chance here for Stack to get something going. But still, it's looking really strong for Liquid. Wins with the Berserk, able to punch two players to death.
We're 1 minute in, and that is not even the first really good Berserk that we've seen activated on the side of Team Liquid. I mean, like, it's such a dangerous ability because you've got so much damage, the lock-on, when there's so much chaos going on in this game mode, right? If you can lock onto a target and do that guaranteed 75 per punch, it's a very dangerous tool to have access to.
It certainly is, and that was a big missed opportunity, not being able to actually get the Soul away initially with the power-up, and so that's a lot of percentage. 50%, despite Liquid not getting the first power-up, they got 50%, that's insane. And right now, we have the Soul being ferried across the map here, thrown to Faz. He's very weak, 72 health left on him. Let's see if there's someone there to block him, but it won't be the case. There will be a cap, but can they hold on to this?
Almost looked like Waz was distracted right there. You know, he was actually sitting there waiting for the Soul to be dropped off, and then his attention was immediately diverted, and here comes Dahang. This is why Clutch is a problem. He can walk in, activate the shield, and just get out of there with the Soul. Yes, he went down, but with the communication that the Liquid boys have, they're going to be more than ready to pick it up, and Waz, very healthy. You know, I'll be surprised if he doesn't drop this one off.
The Clutch really makes things so impossibly annoying, especially when attacking into well, to that point, because it's so cramped and small and very easy for him to play around the stairs as well. And it creates a situation where you just can't get like free percentage. Like every time he gets the Soul away with the free sort of steal, that's just a bunch of, that's maybe like 5 to 10% you're going to miss. Maybe you'll get it back, but that is so much time and opportunity to go towards the rest of your teammates there.
So once more, the power-up goes in the favor of Stacked, but what we have seen in this round so far is that it hasn't really been a huge problem. Toxic trying to go in and out. He's going to ignore Dahang at all costs, and he's just going to try and get out of there on the way. Why not? Try and get one, but it's the blocking ability that Clutch also has access to. But I love the way they're bouncing off. Toxic, he has a lot of support, but he has so much work left to do.
I love this from Toxic, just with the slash. We're seeing so much sliding around with the pummel. It's pretty hilarious.
I mean, his favorite weapon is listed as the Gauntlet. I wonder if this is why.
This game is slowly turning into just a fighting game, just all the melee attacks and so on.
Oh, of course. I mean, you got a Doom Guy punch, the Gauntlet with the two fast little champions. I mean, speak of the devil, right? There you go.
There it is. And also, I hope we get, you know, Zyro in the mix sometimes. You know, he had like some ninja moves, some karate kicks going on there. So anyway, enough of that speculation. We'll see, you know, a quick defense there from Faz attempted as the floor is opened up. Love those buttons, very Quake. I mean, triggering.
For sure, but the thing is that the lead that Stacked are trying to sort of climb back on. Liquid had such an amazing sequence. I mean, yes, they have the Soul so far, but what Liquid have been able to do today, they've had an amazing way of working without having the power-up available. Yep. It's almost like they're almost happy to not have it because their defense is so bulletproof. It's not really phasing them too much. I know Clutch is a big part of that, but we saw this when they fought against Modus Operandi. They had pretty much almost like an 80-90% control rate on the power-ups, and Liquid, on the back foot, still didn't really worry about it too much.
Oh, absolutely, and there is a decision to be made between the quads and the protections. if a quad's coming up and you have a really solid setup, you can actually just concede it to have the guaranteed extra percentage and then just try to focus on just killing the quad, as opposed to risking some players and losing it and then absolutely losing the defense. So, but the protection, that is the must. So we'll see now whether or not there can be a steal here onto point A. This is much harder to hold on to than the other point here, and you can see that that is going to be the case here. Hang, making it even more difficult with that clutch, with that shield, so annoying, creates, destabilizes the defense by getting these free caps, or rather free steals.
Now, there's going to have to be some coordination here. The quad has been dropped, but it's pretty damn far away from everything else. And as you can see, it only just got collected by Toxic, but with Toxic collecting it, no one's going to be faster at reaching this point than him. And look at his stack. And somehow, Hang is still alive after a 90 damage and then 170. Oh my word.
And also fragging here from the stack guys, but this could be still problematic because there's also potential for interception. Despite the fact that Toxic is so quick, we should see at least one challenge there, and there it is, into the acid, 22 health left on him, and he might not be able to get it onto the cap. He does throw it onto the point at the very least, but will there be someone there from his team, from Stacked, to collect it? Yes, that will be the case here, but still lots of fragging. Rafa with the triple off the shotgun,
wow.
And surely they'll get it away once again, and they will.
I mean, in many ways, capping it, or taking the soul away, winning the fight at their location is half the battle, because if you die near the obelisk and they have to make the sequence back, you're probably going to spawn closer to their obelisk than you are, so you're almost guaranteed to fights that you have to take. So you can't put all your resources into getting the soul, because if you have nothing left, how are you going to get it back safely?
And that was a bit of an awkward moment. It was Rafa timing the Mega, which was an awesome move. A lot of teams actually, they miss out on that because it's not as important necessarily, but every edge counts, as Rafa knows, and it won't actually work out too well for him in the end, but it will be the soul still in transit at the moment as we have Toxic getting the collection. But again, you can see that right now the team play here from Liquid, they have the players, the bodies in place, they take the right routes, they know how to attack the problem. And once again, Stack cannot hold on to a defense.
I mean, looking at the lineup of both of these two teams, you just look at the reality that two-man defense on that obelisk was both Rafa and Hang at the same time. That's quite intimidating. But on the flip side, you can say the exact same thing about Stacked. If you're trying to defend a point against Toxic and Noctis, it's the exact same scenario. Only really possible in this grand final setting.
And right now it's going to be finally more percentages being generated by Stack. Fastest position in the high ground is very important. And it's, again, if you can get an offensive player up there, if you're trying to get a cap, it completely destabilizes the defense as well. I mean, and there's so many other issues. The clutch on the protection, incredibly strong here, pretty much invincible. I mean,
and on the way there, Hang was able to get those two little health bubbles as well. So, and that was a really, really nice rocket, in fact. Not much work left to do, only 10%. That's a matter of a few seconds. Yes, the protection has just ran out, but with all of Team Liquid sort of piling in, that's going to be the last protection we'll probably see in this round.
Yeah, and so far we're seeing Liquid doing a good job at actually preventing Stack from getting a steal. And as you mentioned, they're basically there right now. They can commit every single player onto the point, can Liquid, to prevent a throw, but they will still be thrown, actually. Good work there from Stack to find something, and we'll get the Berserk being popped by Too Good, able to get some value out of it. But ultimately, will the soul fall into their hands? That's not the case. It's all about the Americans. Team Liquid with the first round there, and they played it very well.
Definitely, and in that final moment as well, where Too Good was super healthy, he was trying to go in there and harass from behind, maybe try and get the soul back that way. The mining laser, the drill that Clutch has access to that you don't see use every day, to Hang understanding that if he's going to try and run away from me, I've got an ability that has infinite range.
Oh yeah. I wonder if there'll be an adjustment here from the Europeans here from Stacked. I mean, you really want to be able to get that first cap onto the superior point, onto B, and we'll see if they have a setup at the top of the jump pad here. If anybody does, it's just absolute chaos there on the actual soul itself. The grab is made, and we can see that Rafa is trying to get towards point B here through the high ground, trying to juke against his opponents back through the telly. And there's the throw. Nice movement there from Rafa. Actually did a pretty good job to survive for so long and keep the soul alive.
I mean, the idea was, let's not pile straight into the obelisk, because obviously they're waiting for that, but on Lockbox you have so many twists and turns, these tricky little ways you can almost maneuver around an entire team. But on the flip side, Toxic was actually ready for that approach, and he was able to head him off and win that 1v1 wins. That was a cute little shot right there.
And I'm not sure how actually, but Stacked picked up the cap onto B. We saw a moment before the power-up where the clutch was, the Hang was actually trying to body block the soul, which was dropped. And you can see also, how, I mean, it really just tells you everything. Liquid was really desperately trying to get B at every cost, and they were not able to do so. It just goes to show how strong it is here.
Definitely, and you have to wonder, if they're really dominant on one side. Sometimes Obelisks will have a little bit of a difference when it comes to teams being able to perform. Of course, at this level, Liquid will be strong on both Obelisks, but it does introduce a very sort of automatic change in pace. Really nice rocket from Too Good. I mean, he really is one of the star damage dealers in this lineup. And Noctis currently sitting there. I mean, he's just going to be that sort of lone defender at this point. If he's not super healthy, but he's got 17 rockets, let's just try and stay out of trouble and do as much damage as possible. Does manage to catch him off guard. Wins goes down. Noctis still alive. He's going to try to spend as much rockets as possible. Let's get to hang out of here as well, but unfortunately, no. And every member of Team Liquid, they're piling in.
And there it is, a quick cap from the Wiz, but the problem is, can you get across the map? And this is where the team play and coordination really comes in. When you're going for those slow caps, trying to slowly work your way through the map here. Waz actually finding himself a really nice opportunity here. Perfect route, picks up the Mega, but still, again, this is about communication. Is it safe? What route am I taking? Also communicating exactly how you're going to be maneuvering across the map, and Waz will make the cap, but it looks like there's a bunch of players here on the point. Although Dahang actually be able to defend, eventually he'll get punched to death, but there's the return. Traded out by Wins in the rail. Really nice shot. I think Too Good was just about to get the throw as well.
I mean, you mentioned the coordination and the communication between the Liquid boys. I think we pretty much saw that put to good use right there when Waz was looking for a safe passage. He was able to not only pick his route because he understood where the fights on the map were taking place, but that split second of waiting. So when he piled himself and he flew into that obelisk to start capping, even though he died, the rest of the Liquid boys ran in at the same time. So that was definitely a coordinated attack.
Indeed, and it's another power-up here in favor of the Stack side. And Liquid have done pretty well, actually, to be able to just disrupt that B defense, pick up the percentage. But indeed, this is going to be very tough to deal with. Get the grab onto Faz. Still some protection left. He can use the rocket jumps here, and he'll be right across the top level. Pretty smooth sailing, but there should be someone here potentially to actually intercept, but not in time. Dahang, oh my god, eating so much damage from the rockets.
That was absolutely glorious. And to be honest, if one of those targets was going to go down on that obelisk, it had to be Dahang. That was Faz understanding who the important target is going to be and making sure that if I go down after protection runs out, at least I'm taking out their key champion with me.
And here we can see as well like how strong it is to defend here. Toxic actually dropping off, but can stay up on the high ground. It's so incredibly tough to get through to that position. And you can also rail all the way into the rail, the quad, and the heavy position. You can even see there is actually even an angle on the power-up as well, which is kind of ridiculous. But
oh, there's the mining drill.
Love to see it. Dahang is just such a master of the clutch.
And at this level of play, every and any piece of utility that your champion brings access to, it's going to have a use. And a player like Dahang is going to find the best use for it.
Indeed, is now once again Liquid, though, able to ferry the soul across and start generating more percentages here, as we will see that power-up is coming in 30 seconds. So let's see if they can actually hold on until that point here. And looks like it might not be the case. Noctis able to get some good damage in there. The pressure continuing, and the steal seems like it could be inevitable. This is important from Faz, though. Again, stealing away the high ground. Really important. The rockets from the high ground, from the defenders, very strong.
And that was the positioning. And if you're going to be playing Sacrifice as much as these guys do, that being such a key area to defend on the obelisk, Faz wastes no time. Actually meets Dahang at the same time up there, but look at this difference, 49 to 50. This is dead even in the second round. But speaking of which, this quad damage might see to it, but they are dropping like flies. No one currently able to secure it. And it looks like we might see someone collect it. It's going to be Faz. And with the stack he's looking at, got to be careful. Don't want this guy in a 1v1 at all.
And indeed, it's going to be really tough from this point forwards. Oh, dear.
Important. Very important.
Oh, dear. That is, yeah, that's pretty big. Noctis, though, he's able to get the steal, but he's got no health. And once again, the quad will trade hands. Waz on it now. Lots of teammates to support him. He's going to stay in control of the Liquid lads. They'll actually grab it onto Wins. A very good choice. Still half the quad left here. Wins taking some damage from behind here. Really nice movement coming in from the Anarchy. Noctis straight in there. In Wins' back, not allowing him any breathing room and diffusing what could have been a big run into the base.
And I actually love the fact that when quad was about to run out, it's almost like he deliberately sat outside the base to survive as long as possible. If they ultimately were going to get the quad, which they didn't, it was almost ran out. So if they collected it, they wouldn't really have been able to do anything with it anyway.
Rafa very fast here with that slash movement, trying to get himself onto the cap. He should be able to do so here. It's very quick, slick movement, and that's going to be the cap. And they're only slightly behind here. Liquid are doing a better job than Stacked were, actually defending this point and actually capping as well from point B. So Rafa will eventually die here, but I think that he created enough time for his teammates they should be able to have a defense here, but Toxic on the point long enough does get a steal.
But I know this might sound like speaking the obvious, but on what the subject of what you were just talking about, that really is what Liquid have on lockdown compared to every other team. It's just this insane brick wall style of defense, of when they sink their heels in, when they're actually on a point and all four of them are there. It's been historically very hard for teams to actually crack into that defense. But the fact that Stacked are able to constantly get in there and harass, they're not allowing Liquid to get a substantial chunk of percentage down like they have been against basically every other team they've been against, even with the power up or not. I feel like Stacked are at least being able to show that it's a bit easier for Stacked to go up against this style of defense. They're not getting completely just locked out, essentially.
And right now, the Soul is just moving around all over the place. Too Good has it, but the power-up is coming. It's a protection. So, and you look at the difference in commitment when it's a protection. There's way more focus from Liquid when there is a protection. They understand how powerful it is, especially on this map. And you can see that the smart things being done here by Stacked. They're hiding the Soul. Too Good's been on this for quite some time by the Mega. He's basically been sitting there for the last 20 seconds. And finally, he's going to be bounced around. There's nothing he can do. They found him pretty quickly. And still, there's plenty of protection left to actually ferry it back to the base, as Rafa will attempt to do so. And there is going to be someone to block him. But again, the protection keeps him safe. That just small amount of plasma trail might assist as the Anarchy tries to juke around the obelisk.
Now, I suppose in terms of like little victories, at the very least, Too Good was able to delay the Soul being picked up long enough so the protection only served a purpose to capture and not to get a bit of free percentage. However, of course, Liquid still able to defend, so they're not going to be too upset about that. To hang 15 seconds away from a shield, and with 15% left to climb on their percentage, we might only see one more shield from him, but the second you reach about 10% and Clutch has a shield available, that becomes almost impossible to crack into. And to hang, he's going to save it until it is guaranteed to win.
So the fact that Liquid are showing us here that they can have this kind of a defense and prevent a defense on the point B really tells you everything, and they are holding it down at the moment. Some frags made by Faz. Will that be enough? He's actually maintaining his presence on the point for quite some time, but he didn't get the toss. It was very close.
I think it was enough to waste a little bit of time so the Stacked boys can try and pile in, and once more they're in a situation where they have to go in one at a time. They need to delay this, but they are dropping one after the other, and that might be enough. And this is the second round, of course. Liquid just need to hold out for 1 more percent. They need to keep going, and I feel like we're on the verge of it, but in typical Sacrifice fashion, I mean, when is this going to end? They're going to keep the train going. This is how Stacked were able to defeat 2Z.
One of the problems here when everyone's on the obelisk is that there is a spawn on the lightning gun. And you need to have a player on that lightning gun position so you can deny the closest spawns. And right now you can see they're just piling in. They should be okay. They still have the defense. They still have this clutch shield.
How did Faz even get that?
But they're still piling in. And again, without the ability to deny the spawns, this can get very irksome, especially with the abilities. And again, there is the throw. You have to be able to deny those spawns, and the pickup from Team Liquid, they'll get it back onto the point here. And Faz still harassing.
This has to be it. This has to be. He's got the quad damage. They're still piling in one at a time. They're only going to die faster before they reach the point. Toxic does get one rail, but I mean, how long is this round going to go on for? Stacked, they've been doing this all day. And there we go. The capture finally comes through. Team Liquid with a 2-0 result on Stacked. And I mean, that's a third of the work done for these guys.
Oh yeah, and that's like such a clear example of this situation that very commonly happens, where you get these very, very long, drawn-out situations where a team, like, for example, in this position, Stacked, they can't do anything but just rush off spawn. They just have to continue doing that. And obviously, the longer that goes on, the more time they have for their cooldowns to pop. And then let's say, Berserk comes in, all of a sudden, they could get into a very precarious situation. And it's all due to the fact that in Sacrifice, as a defending team, one of the things you have to be aware of is how the spawn system does work, and they're committed to everyone being on the point as well. So you have this like weird situation oftentimes, but it is a victory for Team Liquid, and I think they really showed that they were the better team on Lockbox. I think that it was very clear how the coordination helped them.
And I also feel like the final nail in the coffin would have been essentially the quad damage spawn. When you're Stacked, and it really is the fact that you're sequentially dying one at a time, but while you're dying there's someone else on the point. It really is that 4-man unit that is allowing that chain of events to continue. So the second the power-up's going to spawn, yes, if they had quad, it may have made life a little bit easier for them, but even if one person were to detour there to get quad, that's one person less to fight for the point,
exactly,
and with 1% left, it's basically not possible. They would have given up the round for free. So to remind you guys actually at home, we may not have touched on it, but being a grand final scenario, it's not a 2 out of 3 setting. This would be 3 out of 5, so there's actually a lot more maps to play. This is not half the work for the Liquid boys. They still have to get 2 more, and if you're Stacked, 3 more.
And that's another thing that I think is really interesting about the series, because we're going to see so many maps. again, I usually feel like a team, like, for me personally, I didn't make a prediction earlier, but I would have actually predicted Team Liquid. And one of the reasons is just because I feel like the team playing communication is so strong. And they do have very strong individuals as well. We saw that Dehang, obviously very on point earlier on in his duel matches. And, we have a situation whereby, I mean, pretty much everybody can compete at a team level. And the North Americans, I mean, I hesitate to say this, but they always surprise very... well, they surprised me very much in team games. They're actually very good at team games.
That sounded very difficult for you to say. I don't mean you were struggling to say the words. It was actually getting the courage to admit it.
I know, right? Because it's the thing that's the classic, QuakeCon situation where, us over in Europe, we just feel so confident in our ability. We have a lot more teams and players and a much better practice environment. So, go into that with much more confidence that, the American teams won't be an issue to deal with. But again, at every QuakeCon, there's always a team that you don't expect that does some damage from North America, and there's always the Liquid boys at the very least that have a crazy performance or the ability to do so. And so it's never going to be easy.
But with Liquid looking strong, they are the champions from Dreamhack Denver. These guys have actually won a Quake Champions tournament together first. The Stacked boys were in attendance. Yes, the game is a little bit different now in terms of how much the teams have progressed in Sacrifice. Of course, the game mode has remained the same, but the journey these guys have had, that was about a month ago now.
Yep.
And on a competitive level, you'd always be surprised just how much of a difference 4 weeks will make to a team's composure. We've even saw that from other teams, Modus Operandi, from qualifiers to now. They looked way stronger. The WinRAR license salesmen even. We saw those guys in the qualifiers looking really strong. They didn't have the greatest results in LAN, but at this event in particular, they looked really, really strong. And it was 2-1 against Stacked. They almost moved on where they could have been in this situation themselves.
And it's actually funny as well from the perspective of just the amount of Quake some of these guys have played today. It's like, like Dehang and Toxic and so on. It's like, it's a lot of Quake that's been going on for some of these players. It is definitely somewhat of a battle of endurance as well, considering the Sacrifice semis that we had and how grueling some of those matches were, especially for Stacked. And now this is the map where we would expect, again, if things should play out as they should, if everything goes to plan, Burial Chamber is where Stacked make the damage happen. Burial Chamber is where they get to go into their comfort zone. I think Lockbox really does favor Team Liquid, so I like how these maps are laid out as the first two to give both teams a chance to really exploit their own strengths in the game. And then after that, we get to really play out the series and really find out who is the better Sacrifice team here today.
It's almost like, one game each potentially, and then Sacrifice can begin after that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And we saw, obviously, a pretty good result from Stacked in their Burial Chamber. It was their most convincing victory earlier today in the semi-final against the likes of 2Z.
I mean, that's it, right? We cannot forget that to reach this point, they had to dethrone the world champions. That is no easy task. 2Z were everyone's pick to win this tournament. The grand finals was set to be them versus Team Liquid, in terms of like what the fans thought would happen, and Stacked pulling off not the impossible because they're amazing players, but definitely one of the hardest fought Sacrifice games these guys have taken part in. On the flip side though, we talk about the strength of Burial Chamber and Stacked, and going into Burial Chamber, of course, I think the Stacked team will be favored here. But at the same time, if Liquid are able to take this map off them, then I think we should start to be quite concerned.
Absolutely, and that's really, for me as well, where the turning point is in this match, because if Liquid do take this map away, and they are very good at Burial Chamber, of course, then that's where Stacks suddenly feel like we've lost our advantage, and the only way back into this series is through a miracle.
Now, Liquid currently 1 map up on Stacked, but I mean, going into Burial Chamber, this is a very favored map for Stacked. They've had such amazing results before. Obviously today against 2Z, they're able to get one of their strongest performances, and it's a good map for bringing the guys back into the fight. On the flip side, if it is a map you're heavily favored on and it doesn't go your way, then you have to really pull off a much harder feat afterwards. Yeah. Here comes the Soul.
Yeah, looking for what the setup looks like. We have a player there up on the rail positions. That's usually where you want to get the toss to, but it will go towards the Mega and end up on the point, and that's going to be the cap for B. And this is a really interesting one. Of course, we saw Stacked do great work from here, but Liquid get to start here.
You've got a lot of eyes, I think, on this location because there's so much distance that you can actually see. It's not like the other obelisk where it's a shut location, there's very obvious doors you have to go through. If you have good rail, if you have good basically zoning ability with things like nail gun and stuff like that, then you can deny a lot of areas before they even get close to your obelisk. But here comes that power up. It's going to go to Stacked, but Too Good, not really the healthiest. I know Doomguy has a good stack, but when there's 4 guns aiming at you at one time, you're only really going to survive for so long. long. So we'll see how much Too Good can get done. Looking like he can't really do a huge amount. Waz coming up from behind, and Dahang, he has a chunky stack and quad damage.
He absolutely does, and that's not what you want to see if you are stacked, because he is holding on to these forward positions very effectively. But eventually the punch comes out, but that's what it took. And the Soul now being run by Waz, trying to get things back under control here. We'll lose out towards Mega as we get Toxic darting away with 5 HP, no less.
I mean, they just need to sneeze on him, and they haven't been able to line up the shot because obviously no one's able to sort of keep up with him. Toxic has some of the best slash movement in the business, and if you have that, you're pretty much impossible to chase, unless obviously you've got a good slash yourself, with Dahang picking slash for Team Liquid's side. Very even game so far. If you look at percentage, of course, Toxic turned to pace just there.
So much of this can come down to the snowball game when the rails start to happen, and this is why you have to keep the pace high. You never want to allow a team to actually build up the amount, like an amount of rails, and especially when they're on this point, especially when they have someone at the back of the area that can get really, really bad. But Toxic and the rest of his teammates do make a very good inroads here and just basically get the steal straight away. So nothing really gained there for Liquids.
I mean, that really is what it comes down to, right? It's super important to make sure if they get a cap, don't let them sit on it for too long. You know, if we keep the aggression going on, Stacked being very, very disruptive, and if it's a matter of a few percentage here and there when they're so evenly locked, I mean, just like that, they've just pushed ahead by 2%. But as I've said that, Team Liquid have been able to do the exact same thing back. It's a very, very back and forth situation so far.
Yeah, Waz, great moves there.
Yeah, I like that.
Able to get the cap, and now it's up to the defense here, but the defense, well, it will come down to that power which will be spawning imminently, and there it is. Looks like it is on...
Well, it's Noctis at the moment.
On Noctis.
Super weak as always. I mean, that's going to be, of course, way more because of just the sheer level of which protection is able to mitigate. And in the hands of an Anarchy, he's already quite hard to hit. It could be a bit of a nightmare. But saving grace, there's currently no injection. Still going to be raidable from this health. But, the fact he even managed to survive that long and get that far is kind of incredible.
And he's done enough. Too Good has actually managed to grab himself the soul there, and he will be making his way forward. So I'm not sure if he was able to pop a berserk or something, but it looks like he was not able to hang on to it. Liquid is back in their hands, and Waz quickly getting the cap again. And once more, it's a battle to try to stabilize. Can they make it happen? They have a minute and a half until the, or just over a minute, sorry, until the actual next power-ups will be spawning. And Toxic has a good position. He's going to be able to help his teammates on another cap. They've been so consistent at preventing any setup from Liquid on the B point.
Now, Too Good reaching a point where he really had to try and just throw the soul away and make sure there was someone on stacks ready to collect. If he's going to go down, at least try and create as much distance between him and the soul as possible and just dish out some rockets. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out. You see the rest of Liquid, they're really good at recovery. You know, this is one thing they've been doing superbly well is when a soul goes down, they can recover instantly, someone's ready to pass, and it always funnels back to their coordination, their communication. They are so experienced in team games, not just in Quake, but in other games as well. Going into Champions, that's only ever going to help them further.
And it's obviously now back onto the likes of Noctis, trying to get that cap back into the room, and he gets... I think someone came in, Wins came in from behind, punch in the back of the head, very nice. Maybe not if you're Noctis, but...
I mean, there's 3 members of Liquid here. This is a hard train to stop. Waz popping his injection, trying to stay a little bit more healthy. Very nice rail, keeping them behind. Yep, Toxic only needs to get shotgunned 1 time. And that'll be all she wrote. Here comes the quad damage. Liquid, they've been able to defend against quad more than once today. So it has gone in the hands of Stacked. I don't think they're going to be too worried, though. The stack on Faz's side wasn't really that substantial. So 1 rail is going to do the job. However, I mean, it's funny how we're seeing they've got the quad, but it still doesn't look like they're really in control of this fight.
Noctis is doing some good damage, but eventually he should die. He has gone down to 10 HP, he has used his inject, but he did enough damage to allow Too Good to pick up that soul. However, the base is not safe. Liquid, again, that communication and coordination off the spawn here, trying to prevent Too Good from getting an ability to cap this. What is going to be collected here by his teammate.
Fortunately, it was Toxic, though. Fortunately, it was Toxic. If that was a last-minute steal, that would have been really unfortunate for Too Good.
Oh, it's been such a labored and arduous approach here, back into the A point, and they can't make it all the way. I mean, they get the cap, but you can see that the cleanup will happen. Waz should be able to get the pickup here. The throw and the inject, perhaps. He throws it off the map. And that's going to be respawning momentarily now.
There's no way both teams have not communicated that the reset is going to take place. You know, I know some of the maps, it can take a little bit longer to respawn than others, but that deliberate reset where some people, they have a much better chance. Let's reset the soul. We can take the fight in the middle of the map better than we can take it near the obelisk. But it has been good for Stacked so far, as they have been able to fight back, but they just tried to go for either the reset or just to throw it out one more time again. Toxic actually, we'll see what he can make happen.
Yeah, Rafa actually missing the throw out of bounds, I think, so that's unfortunate for him, but his teammates will still be able to do the damage here. And Waz is in once again, trying to run the soul with the Anarchy. And again, it's all about, I mean, there's been so much time right now for Stack to understand that they just need to set up at their opponent's base to prevent this soul from making its way to a cap. And but it's going to be really hard for Waz, to be honest. But the power-up is, the play on the power-up is really what Liquid have to be focusing on.
Well, they're going to go for one of those drops, but I actually quite like some of the patience these guys are starting to show. You know, even Waz in that scenario where he waited for the heavy first and decided, look, I have a higher chance of making it back with the heavy. Toxic staying alive, it's protection. He's going to survive for a bit, but really, even when you got 20 HP in protection, that's not really going to keep you alive when there's two people attacking you at one time.
Yeah, my preference, I think, would have been for them to actually... It was 10 seconds till the soul when Waz tried to cap. His base had 2 enemies in it, and they were 4 strong on the power-up. Might as well have waited 10 seconds. It was a protection coming. Get the protection on Waz. There was no positioning there for the Stack side. That would have been a really good play, I think. But either way, it is going to be stolen once again by Waz. He did have the arse end of the protection left, and it will be out now, but Waz, can he hold on? He can't survive for too much longer, surely, but he does get a nice rail onto Faz, and somehow he is staying alive. Waz with a second kill as well. Maybe there's a chance here for Liquid to hold on to this point.
I mean, it's getting overwhelmed, but to be honest, on contrary where Liquid, they're able to climb the lead, when Stacked finally get the soul back to their obelisk, nothing happens. They cannot climb any amount of percentage, which means they're putting in all this work, but Liquid's lead is still separating from them. It's running away from them. Stacked they have to hold off right now. It needs to be substantial. Otherwise, Liquid will just continue to inch them out in this round 1.
Yeah, really good damage from Rafa on that nail gun as well. And we can still see the soul is just really, really tough to keep on that point, just as you mentioned. Although this is really one of the better situations we've seen actually happening for Stack. They've managed to get a setup going into the room, but you can see Dahang trying to get on the high ground momentarily, destabilizing that defense as he can, sliding around there, trying to be everywhere at once and cause as much distraction as possible for his teammates, but still it's not actually working. We're seeing a good defense finally from Stacked.
I mean, as long as you respawn like sequentially one at a time, you can kind of afford having 3 people on the point and then almost like rotating that funneling in one at a time, because fresh off the spawn, some of these champions, they have a really good stack. I mean, if you're a Sorlag and you've just respawned, you're still going to have more health than pretty much anyone else on the map, even though you've just appeared on the map. Here comes that power up. Toxic trying to control it. Unfortunately, doesn't quite work out this time. A little bit early on the mark, allowing the rest of Liquid to pile in, but in a very small amount of time, they have been able to get the lead. They've more than evened things out, and Stacked finally in control, but here comes Waz.
And Waz, he needs to be good on the shotgun. He takes a nasty shot down to 19.
Yeah, not before Noctis hurt him bad for that one.
He goes for the suicide there. I thought he actually got shot by a rail or something, but thankfully for him and his teammates, it was a suicide. It was intentional, and that is the power-up and the soul back in the hands of Dahang. But again, he needs to take this very cautiously. He's got teammates to actually support him here. Goes for the toss onto the point for the cap, and now this could be the hold. Do we have a power which is quite far away? I mean, and Dahang has everything to work with from back point. This should be successful.
There's plenty of rails. There's plenty of weapons that have good range and good damage. Dahang, unfortunately, missing that one is going to allow Toxic to really crack that armor and be a bit of a nuisance. I think, you know, you underestimate how much one missed rail can do, allowing someone to run in. It wasted enough time that Faz can run in, take the soul, throw it away, and waste a little bit more of that time. But Liquid are temporarily in the lead again.
But for how long will that last? That is the question. The power-up is still quite some time away, and a steal from Waz. Fast movement, nice rocket, as he is going to decisively be planting that soul back on top of the obelisk. And now it's just a case of holding on long enough and just trying to now deal with desperation mode. Panic setting in for the Stack Lags. They have to just charge it down, but it's not good enough. And Liquid showing that they are a very well-rounded team, taking the first round.
This is why Anarchy is super good. On a map like that, when he has so much open space, he's got so much range to just, and just stuff like that as well. That was actually really cute, optimized movement. But it just goes to show that if you have a really good Anarchy player on your team, in the blink of an eye, it goes back and forth, back and forth. Here comes Anarchy. In a matter of 3 seconds, he's gone from one side of the map to the other, and before you know it, the round's over.
Absolutely, it's absolutely critical. And right now, again, I'm looking at the setups. What are the setups like? Both teams just trying to actually sort of TTM around the Soul at the moment. We don't see anyone standing in any particular throw locations in the Soul.
Losing a lot of heads on that point, and it's likely that Liquid should be able to regain control.
Uh-oh, it's dangerous. I think Dahang's going to lose this. He's going to be so careful. I mean, he may want to actually just change up to a completely different position here, but nice shots, but still. Oh, the Rockets are going quite well here, but where is that Soul going to land? There was a good defense from Stacked. I think the Soul is still, I think it's still in transit.
There we go. Looks like Stacked were able to get the drop off. I actually thought it was really well played by Dahang in that location to play it very careful. Don't stay in their line of sight, pass it towards. Unfortunately, Stacked, at the end of the day, they won that fight, and it will allow them to just make that very leisurely walk over to Obelisk B and finally have a little bit of control.
Dude picking up the quad with the Berserk. So he does truly become one punch man at that point, and that is always fun to see. No enemy too strong for a too good with Berserk and quad.
Lock on and guaranteed death. I mean, I'll take that all day, every day. And they're having a really good defense, and I love that idea for Too Good. Let's use as many quad, every single one of those nails is 80 damage. Yeah, I mean, like, who wants to get hit by that? Look at the lineup, you know, Anarchy, Slash. They get hit by one of those, they can't really make that push. And it was just a nice little bit of optimization from Too Good with that quad remaining.
And it looks actually like a pretty effective attack here coming in. I like Rafa's movement. You can see how he prioritizes getting into the back of the base first. That's really important. And it works out really well. He's keeping himself alive. His health is a bit low, but he'll be trying to escort his teammates back into the point, and they're doing a pretty good job of it as well. And the cap will be made. Liquid's starting to build some percentage now. And again, they have time to stabilize. They have 50 seconds until the power-up.
Yeah, Wynn's in a bit of a funny situation there, only having one rocket left. I think his ability to defend was kind of limited. Had to bank the farm on that rail, and yeah, here comes Toxic. Just, I must say, cleaning house. 3 straight frags in a row. Toxic has been a star performer for Stack today. Such a heavy contributor towards their victory against 2Z on Ruins of Sarnath.
And right now it's looking pretty precarious here. Noct is actually going to be dropping the Soul. That's 3 players taken down from the Stack side as they try to get that Soul across. And now it's back in the hands of Liquid. Oh, going for the mid-air attempt. Won't connect though, but Dahang able to get the toss in towards that A point, and his teammates will capture it. Now we've got to start thinking about that power-up. It is coming imminently. 5 seconds. Who's going to have a better setup? Right now it is Stacked.
And it looks like Liquid are more than happy to actually concede it. They have done it before, and if you know it's going to be quad, as you said earlier, you know, the differences between quad and protection can warrant whether it's worth collecting or not. Team Liquid, they fought more than enough times against a team that has the power up locked and loaded if it's going to be quad damage, and they've been able to come off better, and it looks like they are still able to come off better. The quad has been in Stack's hands pretty much the entire time. Liquid have just collected it, and their ability to manage and go, right, this target needs to go down, let's prioritize this. They're listening to each other, and they have the quad as a reward on top of free percentage.
Oh, absolutely. It's now looking really, really good here for the...
Oh, my word.
For the Team Liquid side. Again, this is like the optimal position you want to be in. So much damage here from Wins. Perfect positioning. Oh, there it is, the backstab.
Come on,
knew
Wins.
nothing about that. And it is a phenomenal defense. And this is what both teams are aspiring to. A full setup. It's very hard to get, but right now Liquid have it.
Toxic doing everything he can to really slip the net. Of course, Slash will give you the tools to do that if you have good execution with the Plasma Trail. They've actually slipped in. That was a really nice coordinated attack. I mean, Stack, these guys have teamwork too.
Yeah, and it's looking like they are starting to whittle down the defense there, slowly eroding at it with just brute force, and that is the name of the game as far as Stacked are concerned. A great approach with all the skill that they have, and they get the Soul out once again, making its way through towards the mega side of the map, but it will be tossed and juked back through into the middle there as Noctis grabs it down to 3. Can't toss it away to a teammate, can't toss it away to any safe position. It's Waz to get it out of bounds there to reset the situation.
They're trading things backwards and forwards. Noctis currently has it, but we've seen Anarchy just get deleted in the past. They do manage to ambush Rafa with the coordination, more than ready for the gauntlet to finish the job, and he's now going to ignore as many targets as possible. Let's try and avoid as many shots, keep guys alive. If we can just get this through with 72% left, they don't have much left to do to win the map.
And it's Waz once again with the grab there onto the Soul, onto the Obelisk. and looks like he should be able to get the cap. He will, and now it's up to the power-up shenanigans. You can see the sheer force put upon it with Liquid, understanding that priority for that protection. And once again, the protection gets into the base. They already had the cap. This is surely the home run here.
This is
for
scary.
Dahang and the rest of his teammates.
This is scary. Dahang having access to protection. There's plenty of it left to go. His stack is super chunky, and he's got a nice amount of rockets left to do the damage. Stacked are in big trouble here.
It's hard to see them actually finding a way to break this, especially with Dahang having so much free roam around the actual obelisk point. And you can see the high ground is so useful.
Wow.
3 teammates standing on it, and that's going to be it. Wow, that is a problem. That's a very big problem for Stacked Liquid in this best of 5 grand final, and Sacrifice proving that not only are they masters of Lockbox, but they're able to topple their opponents on their map as well. Burial goes to Team Liquid.
I would be very concerned. I mean, you can actually see it, right? You know, they're having to really sit there. They're thinking about it. Even Too Good, who's characteristically quite easygoing. When you know that the body language, these guys are a little bit concerned. And of course, they have every reason to be. Burial Chamber is one of their absolute best maps. And we said before, if Team Liquid are able to take Burial Chamber off these guys as well, they now not only have one more map to take to win the entire series, but they were able to do it on a map that's stacked a really dangerous on.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be tough. Really, really, really tough. Obviously, I mean, both teams are amazing at Sacrifice, and the difference between them, you know, I think really with these two teams, on any given day, the results could switch up. But right now, from what I'm seeing from Liquid, they seem so focused, and I'm loving how well they are. Just again, I have to just keep harping on about how well coordinated they are. They have really good communication, and I like how they play around the power-ups, how they actually have the protocols and priorities as to how when to put X amount of players for this kind of setup onto the power-up. And that's been working out really well. And I've been surprised that we haven't seen more deliberate setups around the Soul. And it kind of strikes me is that both teams want to be the ones fragging around the Soul and TDMing around the Soul. And that's something that plays into the strength of Stacked. But Liquid have been pretty good at getting the Soul out in those situations for the first cap. And we know how important those first captures can be.
I like this idea that some of the setups around the Soul involve around kind of 1 or 2 champions and not like a 4-man coordinated attack. I guess you can theory craft and come up with different ways to capture the Soul as a group on paper. But at the end of the day, there's so much action taking place, and so many people, you die on a moment's notice in Sacrifice. You die super quickly. So most of the time, if you have this coordinated attack, it does rely on many teammates being alive at that point, which in this game mode against players like this, it's easier said than done. A lot of these guys are the best fraggers in the business when it comes to Quake in general. So, if we can rely on maybe a Sorlag and a Slash together, that's kind of the best you're going to get, because other than that, people are probably going to be dead around that time. 15 seconds onwards around the Soul is a time you want to stay alive.
Oh yeah, it is pretty complicated, and it's very hard to plan and theorize, because theory and execution, there's 2 very different things. Practice and theory it's very tough, especially considering we saw actually so many, as I say, on the last semi-final that we had with Stacked, we saw a situation with 2Z. Again, they didn't have like a deliberate setup. All they really cared about is having a good pressure around the Soul, trying to take good positions, and just having Latromi in that instance on the Anarchy, just kind of blocking the lightning gun stairs, so to make sure that they have the option to toss to someone if they need it, but generally they're focusing around fragging and just getting themselves in position to be the ones left. Because if you also do have a really good fragging situation on the first Soul, on a map like Blood Covenant, for example, you actually get a very clean first defense. And if you get a very clean first defense, it puts you in a very good position to get the quad, because your teammates start to get more weapons, they have some more survivability, and so it can snowball a little bit. And that's how that perfect start can begin to develop, all the way from that first Soul and how you actually act upon it. And I think some teams don't put as much emphasis on it as they should.
I mean, how's that for teamwork? Let's put Rafa in the game when he's not even here. That's like next. That's outside the game. That's rewriting the meta. But however, on this subject, I feel like you said the early start, it comes down to about 30%, right? Where if you're able to get the Soul dropped off immediately, and then you're able to instantly get the power up, the time it roughly takes, that's basically 30% that you get at the very beginning of the match for free. And 70% left, that's not really impossibly obtainable when you have a really good defense, as the Liquid guys are currently able to display. But just to go back on the subject of the power-up, which I find to be showing how the game mode is starting to develop. Back when Sacrifice was first starting to be played during the QWC days, it was power-ups up, gotta fight for it. We need that power-up. People are like, this is a be-all, end-all kind of situation all the time. And I love how it's starting to develop, where people are starting to ask the question of, is it necessary all the time? Do we need this? Would we rather have percentage? And are we confident enough in our own teammates that we can survive without it. And if we get it afterwards, happy days, that's best case result, but not necessary.
Oh yeah, and it's I mean, I need to ask you at this point, how do you feel about the comeback?
I mean...
How do you feel about a comeback for the European lads? I can see Machiavelli over there.
He thinks it's possible.
He's jumping around like a giddy school child right now. And the prospect of Liquid doing a 3-0 sweep.
I think if there's one person in this entire crowd that doesn't want to see a comeback, it's probably going to be Machiavelli. But to be honest, in this tournament setting, the mental fortitude required to make a comeback like this, you know, Team Liquid are the latest champions for Sacrifice because of Dreamhack Denver. Everyone knows this. They have such an insane mechanical skill level together in Sacrifice, and they've dominantly taken one of Stacked's best maps. As a 4-man unit, you need to be so ready for this comeback to play the best you've ever played, knowing that the odds currently are, no pun intended, stacked against you.
Oh yeah.
I feel like, you know, if they're able to pull this off, it's incredible, and they will be absolutely the most undisputed greatest team of this year. But Liquid, one more map. Easier said than done.
And it's good and bad right now here from my perspective for Stacked, because Ruins is a good map for them. It's one of their better maps, I think, and especially with the kind of playstyle that they have. We saw how good they were against 2Z on it previously, and they were great on the power-ups as well. And the issue for them here is that the Hanks can be running the clutch, and okay, you can have the counter with the slash, but there are certain spots in this map where the clutch is incredibly strong at getting the free throws. You know, there's the lower point where he can just actually get his back against the wall, and it's so impossibly hard to actually damage him.
He's invincible.
He's pretty much invincible. And the other thing too is that we saw previously that we had Noctis running Faz, I think it was, running the Scale Barrel. Was it Noctis?
Yeah, Faz.
I think sometimes they're interchangeable when Faz wants to run the Soul Lag as well. So, and that was a very important thing, because we already talked about the importance of that first Soul, and that Scale Bearer pick allows you to get way more success on the first Soul, but not that, only that, also the power-ups as well. Scale Bearer very good with that charge in getting those power-ups. And again, as you know, you mentioned previously, Rafa showed us in the interview just how impactful well-played powers can be.
I mean, it can be a matter of life and death in a lot of these cases, but going into this final map, if Team Liquid are able to pull this one off, you know, they were able to win Denver and they're winning this, there's going to be no question that they will be the team of 2017. But here
Absolutely.
We go. This is our third map, and it, funnily enough, could be our final map. It's going to be Ruins of Sarnath, Team Liquid and Stacked. Team Liquid up by 2 maps. Stacked have a lot of work to do here.
It's going to be a tough one, and again, as we said, it comes down to that first Soul, and we have Faz on that Scale Bearer. He had a great game with it previously. Can he get a repeat performance? He's getting a setup here, and Liquid should realize what they're doing, and they should try to shut him down. That could be something that they're going for here. He's trying to hide. He gets the timing on the charge. He gets the toss towards the telly. Can his teammates get the grab, though? That's the question. And in fact, they will. And it's going to be actually going for the lower point, and very interesting stuff there, as they will be able to start off well. Stacked, we saw really good defenses on this point from them previously, and so they should be going into the start of this map with confidence.
Now, Too Good's really sort of being that guardian, making sure that even though the power-up's going to spawn, we really can't allow anyone from Team Liquid to try and sneak in there. Too Good being a really good fragger himself, so he probably bets his luck on the 1v1, absolutely. Unfortunately, though, Team Liquid, they were able to completely wipe and take the Soul at the same time. They've got a lot of quad left to work with, and that super shotgun, man, I mean, it really is one of the star weapons. Waz taking a lot of damage, though. He's kind of weak. Undone a little bit by the injection, but even then, it puts you back up to 70 HP, and there you go. Noctis with a frag. 2 frags.
That's really crucial. The rail play is so important on this point, but it can be very difficult sometimes, because you can actually have if you ever get a couple misses, now all of a sudden you're behind the pace, you're behind the tempo, your opponents are getting all the kills on your teammates. You have to get the connections with it. It's very difficult, but Noctis making it work, creating space for his teammates, but still, we do get a cap here and a hold from the Team Liquid boys as they manage to get towards 30%. This is a big start from them. If we consider that they gave up the first point, they managed to get, as you mentioned, the back cap and the power-up, and that is really well played from them. And
it's a level of trust, understanding who's going to go where, at what time. They understand that they're going to get the job done, and they've pretty much taken this plan. They executed it perfectly. Their reward, 40% at least, and this is the Team Liquid that we've been seeing all day. They've really sunk themselves into a point, and it's looking very hard for Stacked to actually get an offense going. Faz was a real star performer next to Toxic on this map when they fought against 2Z. He got some amazing ball rushes. Haven't really had the chance to see them so far, and that was a really surgical rail. Just keep them on the back foot. That guardian of the obelisk.
Yeah, and that rail completely diverts Toxic. He can't go to the base in that direction. You can see how much of a detour he's having to take in this position, up the stairs, and this is something that should be anticipated. Actually, though, they were out of position. Toxic found the correct way in, but he does go down fairly quickly. Big chance here now for there to be a steal. In fact, there will be. Very little gained here for the Stacked boys as they manage to actually get themselves in position towards that power-up now. The Soul is there as well. Raz going to be trying to run that one, and he should be okay because the focus should surely now rest on the power-up.
And you mentioned a diverted focus. That's going to be a free heavy for Waz, which means that if the rest of his team are able to get protection, which they have done temporarily, but he's pretty weak. Faz with another one of those famous ball rushes, and Dahang answering one big body to another. I mean, Wins, he's got to be super careful here. 1 health, of course, there's the tactical suicide. No doubt we're going to see him go with that one. Just pass it to someone with a bit more health.
And now it's time to try to get himself, Rafa that is, onto a position where that Soul is his, and he's going to be able to make it. It's a very awkward situation around the jump pad.
Trampoline, oh my word.
Yeah, very, I mean, I hate those fights. They're so weird, to be honest, but still, it is going to be a result, it would seem, actually, for Stack. They managed to get the Soul there onto Noctis. He's going to run it onto the point, but maybe not. We get the steal. Wins is in. There's the toss through the telly. A very fast conversion straight back to Liquid's point.
Now he's going to be laying that plasma trail. Toxic says, you have to get through me, mate. I mean, the plasma trail does so much damage, detonating in a situation where they have to run through if you're nearly dead. Sometimes those little fumbles can happen when you try and throw the Soul away. It forces Toxic in this situation. He has to once again divert his attention. And with 2 teammates being down, yes, he's going to get the heavy armor here, but he's losing teammates left, right, and center. Getting back alive is going to be quite a big ask here.
Toxic.
Yeah, he's having to just look for his moment to go through, but
it's so tough, isn't it? It's so tough. You can kind of get stuck, and if it slows down too much, it feels almost impossible sometimes to get back to your own point. It's very difficult. That pace needs to stay high to keep the chaos up so that the other team cannot coordinate correctly to block you. But I mean, Liquid looks so strong from that respect so far in this matchup. Even still, the Toxic eventually found a way to get that Soul onto the point, and they're starting to build again. But there's 20 seconds until the power-up, so again we get into this awkward situation, and they don't even get to hold it.
But once more, we're just going back to the consistency of how Liquid are able to recover. They lose the Soul, they don't really give up too much. They go straight back on, and they're able to take it as a group. It pretty much means that Stacked, their percentage is essentially on borrowed time the second it's dropped off. But things might turn around here. They have got the quad damage, but teammates are falling around him. Toxic's going to have to be this one-man army, and he gets another one. Well, there we go. Perhaps he was able to accomplish exactly what he needed to do there. Fantastic quad spree.
Oh yeah, Toxic with this shotgun. The boomstick is absolutely glorious to watch. So satisfying as he gets himself a pummel as well. Big damage, big cap, the big man there. The middle finger as well. I think that's only a fitting conclusion to that passage of play that looked absolutely phenomenal there from the Swede, as now it's going to be Dahang coming in there from the side. A very important position for a Clutch to make his way forwards. You can sometimes sort of sneak your way onto the point with the shield without taking damage, the name of the game for the Clutch, but it's actually his teammates to get that cap. But still, the ball rush comes in, the recap from Faz, and things look like they could stabilize, maybe, just maybe here for Liquid, but it's so difficult, or rather for Stack, but it's so difficult.
It was a really good spree from Toxic just then. On top of the fact that when it ran out of quad, he had that 1 versus 1 versus Dahang. I think Dahang sort of misjudged how much damage that final rocket was going to do. He'd already long looked away by the time the rocket actually failed to connect. He actually died because of it. And Toxic got a couple more frags before he inevitably went down. I feel like if there's one person on the stacked, if there's one person on the stacked roster that is this eternal disruptor, I mean, just come on, man. This guy's in grand finals of Duel for a reason.
Toxic is just absolutely loving this. He's just constantly moving at such intense speeds. I mean, his last name is Quick. I mean, I guess it just makes sense, doesn't it? Right now, as he's making his way forwards, trying to pressure the weapons. But that's... that percentage has built massively here. Stacked off the back of these plays from Toxic, and his teammates have managed to do a lot of damage, but eventually that clutch coming into play. So strong on this map. Dahang looking to get the cap here. Looks like he should be good. Some damage coming in. The plasma trail awkward for him, however, still makes it work, and pixel rails to boots.
I mean, we're literally seeing star play after star play from so many people. Faz has had some fantastic ball rushes, and I feel like, you know, it's coming down to Dahang and Toxic combined, getting these really important group kills. Too good, stuck in Petuna. That really is a sandwich you don't want to be involved in.
And he can't survive with the protection. Had Too Good managed to survive, he would have had the Berserk intact, and that would have been well, enable him to defend and actually put the pressure on. But instead now, protection onto Rafa, onto the slash. Now comes the big attack here for Liquid, looking to make one last big play to steal away the round here on Ruins Hassan now from their opponents, the Europeans. Stacked, they are in a lot of trouble right now. This is a big run from Rafa. He can get straight to the point here.
Yep, that plasma trail is going to allow him to beat the rest of the team to the punch. Unfortunately, the rest of his team is falling around him. So here comes Stacked. This coordinated attack once more. Faz currently sitting on the Soul. I wonder if he's going to pass it. Yeah, more likely he was going to do it. He didn't have a ball rush, so he's not going to be able to run the Soul by himself. Oh no, Noctis. Masterfully blocked off there, but he actually gets the revenge on Waz for that one. Rafa with the Soul back in hand. I mean, look at that, 91 versus 82. This is so unbelievably close. And Stacked, I mean, they need this round. For it to be this close, for morale alone, they need this round.
And this is looking really, really strong right now from the Liquid lads. It's looking very, very strong indeed. It's still 99, and now there is no choice but just to rush in. The desperation, but Rafa is having such an immaculate defense, and now the shield comes up. Insult added to injury, and it is the round. Oh my God. Liquid are just too good, man. They're just too good.
This is not something that I think we were prepared for, right? You know, we all expected it to be super, super close. It still could be close. You know, this is not over yet, but this is going to be tournament point, championship point, in fact, for the Team Liquid boys. And I mean, Stacked, this is, well, this is a lot. This is a lot to handle. They have to get this round just to stay alive. They have to get another round and then 2 more maps. I don't know if it's going to be possible at this point. Liquid are just riding that snowball, and it is so large at this point.
Oh yeah, and again, the first Soul, incredibly crucial. We're looking to see where it's going to be going, who's actually on right now. In fact, I think we saw somewhat of a wipe from Stacked, and it's going to be a pretty clean pickup there from Liquid. And I discussed the situation before. If you can get a super clean pickup, get a bunch of kills, things can snowball quite quickly.
And so many amazing rockets to hang, causing so many issues. Yes, he went down, but even when Faz collects, he can't even do it. He is able to take out Waz, but with that stack, he was only a matter of seconds away from getting taken out. And that whole thing came down to Dahang's masterfully placed rockets.
Honestly, Faz did really well there by himself. And it may have made somewhat of a difference here, but this power-up still did eventually go into their hands, but so much time was wasted. And we can see that so much percentage is building for the Team Liquid team, and it's going to be a situation where the quad will eventually find its way in there, but it's just trading hands at this point, and the defense is now looking at once again solid, secure, and Liquid 35% and building. There's no response right now from Stacked.
It's just going from bad to worse for them, isn't it? We have 40%, 1.5 minutes into this round. It's looking really good. Liquid, they're really starting to show that the North American region, they know a thing or two about sacrifice. They were so dominant in Denver, and it's looking like they're being just as dominant here. Stacked, they have the Soul, but they've had a hard time in this round getting anything off it.
Toxic though managing to get himself the shield. I love that move there, the fadeaway throw over the wall there onto his own point, but does he have a teammate there to collect? He does, and now we start to get the percentage building, but the play from Too Good gets the fists out, and now that's going to be a couple frags from him. The pressure, the damage, the frags coming in to allow the space for the Soul to make his way back across here, back onto their point. And they need it.
But they're winning so many of these fights, and they're winning a lot of these group encounters, but they're not getting any percentage for their trouble. And here comes Dahang. The clutch is such a thorn in Europe's side in this tournament. He just pops the shield, he laughs in your face, and there you go. He just takes the Soul and runs away with it, wasting loads of time.
And the clutch gets really strong when your teammates are playing individually very, very well, because Clutch needs to get into position. He needs to get into a spot where he hasn't taken any damage. So he's actually going to be less present on the map than the rest of his teammates, so that he can actually make these big plays onto the Soul. And so you've got to be careful for that. And Dahang doing a decent job so far, as are the rest of his teammates. But this next power-up that'll be coming, well, actually, no, just taking that. Let's see how that goes.
Oh, Too Good with a little bit of a steal right there. Has to get through Rafa first.
Awkward, very awkward there. Can't quite escape that situation. Rafa with that protection is looking very strong indeed. A couple fantastic rockets. I have to say, his rockets have been so nice in this matchup so far.
I mean, this is the meta of the rockets. If we're able to sort of master that, we've seen actually both, funny enough, from both Dahang and Toxic, who we'll be seeing a little bit later on. They've had insane damage output, which has saved them in so many occasions. But wow, wins the railgun machine! Oh my word!
I'm telling you, man, people sleep on wins. Sometimes he's underrated, but that guy is absolutely
why not?
insane.
Why
wins! Not? He doesn't stop, does he? This guy is going absolutely insane.
It's still going. It doesn't even matter. Is he going to finish the job? Look, this goes down as well. This guy is unstoppable, DDK.
Oh my God, it's a frag movie. There's no cuts, there's no edits. It's not needed because it's wins. And after that insane run, look at where they stand. They stand at almost 80% unanswered. Stacked, what are they going to do from this position?
I don't know, but it was only fitting that Wins gets railed to finish the spree. I mean, come on.
That's got to be one of the plays of the tournament there from Wins. An absolutely unbelievable rampage, a series of frags that never ended. And now it looks like it could be Stacked that ends.
I mean, Team Liquid, they have 7% left and they will be our champions. And it's going from bad to worse for Stacked. They're piling in, but once more, we're reaching the point where the second that soul gets dropped off at A, they're going to have to pile in one at a time. The chance for strategy is becoming so short. And I'm worried because in 10 seconds, the quad damage is going to spawn. And I don't think Stacked can afford to fight for it.
Absolutely. This is such a horrible position to find themselves in. Liquid, they seem to be elevated in the moment in this grand final situation. And now it's all going to come down to this. Waz actually going for the suicide there to drop off that quad to a teammate, but it's Too Good with a steal. And he pulls out the fists again. That quad damage is definitely going to be very, very important here. Too Good can make the play to save his team, but for how long?
It looked like a little bit of a misplay where the tactical suicide came through. The rest of the team was already far down there. Too Good was able to just run in there and steal it. It's kept his team alive, but look at that. 1% more stands between Team Liquid and tournament victory.
So close now, and they've been so consistent at the steals. Right now, it's an argument that needs to be made from Stack that they can hold on for this, onto this point, onto their point. They can't even get the cap just yet. That Soul is all over the place at the moment as they've been worrying about those powers. They've been roaring about these positions, and Wins again. Here he comes, rail in hand. There is the fists again. The fists are undeniable.
Rip
Wins
and tear until it is done from Wins, and that's going to be 100%. Team Liquid from North America are your Dreamhack Winter 2017 Grand Champions. There we go.
So impressive, so utterly impressive. And this is one of the reasons why Wins is an incredible player, a guy that will always deliver in these very intense situations with an almost unrivaled level of mechanical skill and consistency. And that is, it wasn't just Wins, it was every single man on the team. I mean, we could speak for ages about each of their roles and how they performed, but again, we also have to hand it to Stack who were able to be in this position by actually dethroning 2Z, and to do so, it required them to elevate their game massively, and they both gave us quite the grand finals.
I think we saw a display of sacrifice. You know, throughout today, we saw a level of sacrifice that we have never seen before. And yeah, I'm wondering how they're going to pick this one up. That is one of the biggest Quake trophies I think I've ever seen. But I mean, come on, guys, give it up for Team Liquid. They really did come off a fresh victory in Denver, and they've been able to show that they are still